The main idea of the risk register is to list all of the bad things that could happen to your information and to figure out how to prevent those things from happening. This process of risk assessment and treatment is done in a couple of steps. First, you list all of the assets that could influence the security of your information. Then, you identify vulnerabilities. These are shortcomings of the assets that could be exploited by security threats. The threats, identified in the third step, are negative things that could happen to your assets. The next step is to assess impact, meaning the severity of the consequence if the information is compromised, and the likelihood of its occurrence. The level of risk is calculated automatically, and you need to review all of the identified risks so far. If the risk level is not acceptable, then you need to find ways to mitigate it. You will need to choose between treatment options, and in most cases, you will use security controls that will reduce the risk. At the end, the risk owners need to accept the treatments you have selected. The good thing is, for most of these steps, Conformio will automatically make suggestions on what to fill out, and you will just have to select what is the most appropriate for your company. Conformio will suggest the list of assets, and you need to mark the assets that you really use in your company. If you can't find an asset, you can easily add a new asset here. In the next step, you need to select related vulnerabilities for each asset. Again, Conformio suggests a couple of options, and you need to choose the ones that apply. Finally, for each vulnerability, you need to select a couple of related threats, similar to what you did in the previous steps. The next step is to assess the impact for each risk. If the consequences of compromising the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of the information related to your particular asset are very big, then you select high. If they are negligible, then select low, and select medium for anything in between. If you think this will almost certainly happen in the next couple of years, select high likelihood. If you think this will almost never happen, choose low, and for anything in between, choose medium. As you can see, Conformio automatically calculates the level of risk, and it tells you whether the risk is acceptable or not. If the risk is acceptable, this means you don't have to work on it anymore. To make sure all risks are identified correctly, you need to review all of them and confirm that they are okay. If a particular risk is not acceptable, then you have to select a treatment option, and in most cases, you will simply select the option for security controls and then judge which of the controls would be applicable for you. Conformio will automatically tell you whether you have selected enough controls to bring the risk down to an acceptable level. Once you select treatment options and security controls for each unacceptable risk, they will be sent to the risk owners. Once the owners approve their risks, then the risk assessment and treatment report and the statement of acceptance of residual risks will be automatically created as PDFs in your Documents section.